Now look, today we're diving into some major updates in the YNW Melly case. And let me tell you, this shit is a marathon, not a sprint. And after multiple delays, appeals, and legal twists, Melly's double unaliving retrial has been pushed back into January 2027. That's wild, Slim. Look, y'all sit back and relax and stay until the end of this episode because we about to break down why this happened, where things stand, and what this means for both sides of the courtroom. Welcome back to another episode of Eyes Low, Belly Full. As y'all know, this marks episode 113. Now, for anyone new to the case, YNW Melly has been locked up since February 2019. Prosecutors say that he's responsible for the October 2018 shooting deaths of his two close friends, Anthony Williams, also known as YNW Sack Chaser, and Christopher Thomas Jr., also known as YNW Juvie. Now, the case first went to trial in the summer of 2023, but ended in a mistrial when the juries couldn't reach a unanimous verdict because Florida law requires all jurors to agree in the death penalty case, but they just couldn't get there. And after the mistrial, the retrial was initially scheduled for September 2025, but now the official date is January 2027. That's nearly 4 more years behind bars before this case even gets heard again.
YNW Melly trial has been pushed back until 2027. Yes, the retrial that was supposed to start September 2025 has been pushed back until January 2027. Let's not forget that Melly has sat in jail since 2019, most of that time being under solitary confinement where he could not talk to or get visitation from his family. Y'all, the 4th Court District of Appeals made this ruling on today, and they put a stay on this trial, which basically means they hit the brakes and they're not letting this trial continue until they make a ruling. Now, they're making a ruling due to the state attorney's office filing a motion. This motion is basically challenging a decision that the trial court has made. Now, this can be very big for Melly because this can reinstate charges that were thrown out against him. This can reinstate evidence that was thrown out in this case, as well as reinstate rulings that were made. This can bring back a lot of stuff that were detrimental to Melly's case. And we all know that this case has been really unfair the way they have handled it. Y'all, this is major. Melly has already been in jail for a long time, and they have pushed this out for a year and a half. Soon as I have some more information, I will let you all know.
So why the massive delay? I mean, a big part of it comes down to appeals over what evidence could be shown to the jury. And both the prosecution and the defense have been battling over key pieces of evidence. And those disputes have gone up to the 4th District Court of Appeal. And that court issued a stay, which basically freezes the trial until the legal questions get resolved.
So at first they was at the studio. As y'all can see, this is footage of them actually leaving the studio before the incident happened. The first problem is YNW Melly said he wasn't there at the time of the incident, but he ended up getting inside the car that was involved inside the incident. And remember, YNW Borland was the only person that brought them to the hospital. Another thing they point out is YNW Melly and Borland had a bag while leaving the studio, but the police said they couldn't find those bags after the incident took place. And after leaving the studio, that's when they said the drive-by happened. And that's when Borland said he took him to the hospital, but they noticed that Borland ended up changing his clothes before going to the hospital. After that, the police wanted Borland to take them to the crime scene, but they didn't find no evidence at the spot they took him. And Borland also told them that Melly wasn't with them and he didn't know where he was at. That's when the police said they got video footage of Melly getting inside the same car as him. And that's when Borland ended up changing up the story saying Melly was with him, but he ended up leaving and going inside another car before the incident happened. Of course, the police did more investigating. They ended up finding a cell location inside the car that they was in. And after doing more investigating, they said the bullet trajectories don't match up with it being a drive-by. And after examining the body, they said the wound that he had only could be made from someone shooting him up close. And eventually the police get cell phone records and it don't match up with the story. Cause the records show that Melly was inside the car with Borland and also they drove around before taking him to the hospital. And the prosecutors believe during that time of driving around, they was trying to dispose of evidence and that's when Melly ended up leaving. And what's crazy, prosecutors believe that Fredo Brang is the one that picked him up after he did the unaliving. And that's when the police eventually found another location with shell cases on the ground. And the police believe this area right here is where Melly and them staged the drive-by shooting. And a couple days after the shooting, YNW Melly ended up dropping a documentary with him and his friends. But why would Melly do this to his own friend? The police ended up recovering messages that showed that it actually was tension inside the group. And allegedly the problems was over jealousy and money. He said he let YNW Melly be the face, but he the real CEO. And I guess Sack Chaser and them wasn't messing with Melly mom either. And they think that right there is the reason why YNW Melly wanted to unalive his homie.
Now, that's not all. There is also an ongoing investigation involving one of Melly's attorneys, Raven Liberty. She's been under scrutiny for more than a year for possible witness tampering. I mean, no charges have been filed, but the investigation itself added more complications to the whole retrial process.
A judge postponing a hearing for YNW Melly because his lawyer is now accused of witness tampering. Local 10's Sinella Sabovic is live. She's in Fort Lauderdale with more on what we're learning about this. Sinella?
That's right, Christy. Rapper YNW Melly, whose real name is Jamel Demons, is currently awaiting retrial on those double murder charges. But he did appear in court today for a scheduled hearing. And as you mentioned, he now needs to decide if he wants to keep his legal team after one of his attorneys is being investigated by the Broward Sheriff's Office. Let's get you to video from inside of the courtroom. This hearing happened earlier in the day. Demons appeared shackled in a red jumpsuit. It was a 40-minute hearing, at first discussing a series of motions filed last year, but a focal point of that hearing was in regards to Demons' lead attorney, Raven Liberty. She currently is under investigation by the Broward Sheriff's Office for alleged witness tampering. She has not been charged with anything at the moment. She wasn't present today. Her flight was delayed due to bad weather. But Demons' defense team is claiming they need to know the extent of this investigation and that Demons hasn't even seen Liberty in person in the last year and a half.
And let's not forget, this is a high-stakes case. Prosecutors are still seeking the death penalty if Melly is convicted, because Florida is definitely one of them states where the death penalty is always on the table. Now, Melly's legal team, of course, maintains his innocence, basically saying that the prosecutor's theory doesn't match the evidence and their client is being wrongfully accused. And the delay into 2027 means that both sides are in the holding pattern. You feel what I'm saying? Like, the witnesses, evidence, and public interest been on ice for years. Now, in high-profile cases like this, I mean, the longer things drag out, the more the public conversation changes. People forget details, social media moves on, and the courtroom energy changes. Now, let's break down the numbers right quick. Arrested, February 13th, 2019. First trial, July 2023. Ended in a mistrial. Original retrial date, September 2025. New retrial date, January 2027. That's 8 years between his arrest and his next shot at a verdict. That's more than some people's careers or even some people's time in high school and college combined. That's wild, Slim. And the online reaction has been split. Some people say that this delay could help the defense, basically giving them more time to prepare and poke holes in the state's case. Others say that it benefits the prosecution, who can tighten up their strategy. And then, of course, there's a fan base. You know, some of Melly's supporters believes that he's innocent and that this whole process has been dragging out unfairly. But legal experts are quick to point out that both sides agreed to the delay once the appeals court stepped in. So this isn't just the state or just the defense pushing it back. It's the legal system moving at its own slow, methodical pace. So here's where we're at. YNW Melly will probably remain in prison for another 2 years before his fate is decided in court again. The retrial is now on the books for January 2027. Unless something dramatic happens, that's when we'll see the next chapter unfold. And whether you believe he's guilty or innocent, there is one thing that is clear. This case is shaping up to be one of the longest, most drawn out battles in hip hop history. Now, I want to hear what y'all think about this situation. Do you think this long delay will help Melly's defense or give the prosecution more time to lock in their case? Go ahead and let me know in the comments below. And if this video resonated with you, go ahead and hit that like button. Give me a thumbs up and also subscribe and hit that bell notification for more episodes. I'm going to catch y'all in the next one. Peace.